We left work a bit earlier than usual, but the weather was perfect, a cool breeze mixed with warm sunshine, just right for a spring afternoon. An extra hour to hike, thanks to a silly New Year's resolution to appreciate the nature around town. Somehow, we'd stuck with it, at least once a week, an hour without fail. Plus, Chris almost always had some good weed. Today, with more daylight and time, we pushed farther up the trail than ever before. Usually, we had to rush back, him to feed his dog, me to clear my head after smoking our usual joint and a half before my second job at the bar. We reached a clearing overlooking a trickling stream and the cliff's south face. 3 big boulders sat there, 2 perfect for sitting, 1 acting as a table between them. It looked natural, but felt intentional. "Sam, you see this?" "Sam!" He called me twice before I snapped out of my haze from the weed. Finally, I noticed him pointing at some scratchings on the table. "Here be the testing grounds," I read aloud. "Let he who triumphs unman the loser." I chuckled. I didn't know pirates built this trail. Chris glanced at his watch. "Still got some time. Quick Scrabble?" "Sure." We both worked at a magazine, me writing, him copy editing, and fancied ourselves decent wordsmiths and Scrabble players. Truth was, we were just okay. I played online sometimes and got my butt kicked. Chris never played online, oblivious to how mediocre he really was. Still, we'd play at work, making moves every 15 minutes on a makeshift card table between our cubicles. And once a week, if lucky, on lunch breaks. Chris brought a travel board with grooved pieces for our hike, figuring why not. Playing high was usually tricky for me, but somehow I pulled off a win. 3 bingos. I drew both blanks, the J and the X, while Chris was stuck with the Q when I finished. Maybe this sounds unremarkable. I mention it to set up what came next, the contrast between the ordinary and the truly surreal. Or maybe I'm just a dork who gets specific about Scrabble wins. Anyway, Chris muttered something like, "Damn, you win," and I laughed, pointing to the pirate message carved into the table, saying in my best pirate voice, "And now you be unmanned." And then, somehow, he was. There was a sickening squish, and my head spun, like during an earthquake. Chris coughed, then chirped in this bizarre way, and the world snapped back. I breathed in the cold air, feeling okay, and then Chris screamed. Really screamed. Sitting on a nearby rock was a woman wearing Chris's clothes, swimming in them, with his floppy emo hair and coloring. She grabbed her chest, then cautiously checked her crotch, screaming again. "What the hell just happened?" she shrieked. "No clue," I said. But it was painfully obvious, losing the game on the testing grounds had transformed Chris into a woman. She calmed down, took another hit from our joint, and packed up the Scrabble board. "I'm hiking back in my socks," she said. "My shoes are way too big now." She cinched her belt tight, rolled up her pant legs, and added, "Okay, I think I can walk." "You really want to go home like this?" "What choice do I have? At least I live alone. Maybe this'll wear off. And if it doesn't? We'll deal with it when we get there." Chris kept complaining about how slow she was walking and how huge her butt felt, which, honestly, it kind of was. I ended up carrying both her backpack and mine. It seemed like the gentlemanly thing to do, and although she got a bit annoyed when I offered, she let me anyway. I dropped her off at her place and promised I'd call later. When I got to the bar for my shift, the weed had mostly worn off, but I was still pretty distracted. Luckily, it wasn't busy that night, unusual for a Friday. Darlene, who usually co-tended with me, asked what was wrong. I just shrugged it off as a weird day. Around midnight, I called Chris. A soft voice answered. "Sam. Still a woman?" "Obviously." "All right. If you want to come by the bar, drinks are on me." I felt a bit guilty. If he had one, maybe I'd be the one transformed. Not sure how I would have explained that to Darlene. "Not going out like this." "Thanks though." I promised to check in the next day, and when I did, the news wasn't good. Chris was still very much female. At least you don't have obligations until Monday, I said. I'd actually stopped by because she hadn't answered her phone. True, she said. But I don't want to spend the whole weekend inside feeling sorry for myself. I need to get out. But I need clothes. At least shoes. We went to a thrift store. Prices were higher than I expected, which mattered, since I was buying Chris's outfit. Still felt guilty. How about this? I held up a skirt. No way, she shot back. In the end, she picked out some pants that almost fit, motorcycle boots that were a bit big, and a sports bra that fit poorly but was better than nothing. She figured her oversized t-shirt would do for now. The pants, used underwear, gross, and shoes cost nearly $60. Not exactly thrift store cheap. But Chris was more comfortable, and that was what counted. Back at her place, we smoked a joint. Have you, tested your equipment? I asked. None of your business. Come on. She grabbed her now tight chest. I've had some fun with these. Honestly, I've been a little scared to go further. We sat quietly for a good 10 minutes. Well, damn. Sorry this all happened. At least it'll make a good story, she said. I had to work Saturday and didn't hear from Chris until late Sunday morning. She was still a woman and sounded increasingly panicked. What am I supposed to do, Sam? I can't show up to work like this, she said. Give it one more day. If you can't make it Monday, I'll tell them you're sick, really sick. That'll buy time. Then we can figure out if we need a doctor. Sam, we might have to go back to where this started. Maybe I need to win a game there. Against me? No way I'm turning into a woman. Maybe there's a loophole. I could play a computer game on my phone at the table and win or find another clue. All right, weird idea. If we need to, I'll go back up there with you Monday after work. I stopped by Sunday night. Still female. I offered to grab dinner. Not hungry. Not even for Chick-fil-A? Nope. She wore a dress. What's with the outfit? I figured I'd need something to wear out if this keeps up. Those thrift store clothes weren't comfy. Got a bra fitting, this dress, some sandals. Used my credit card. They almost didn't take it, they thought it wasn't mine, but I told them it was my boyfriend's. Pretty humiliating. I almost cried. Sorry, I said. She looked at me. I think it's really getting to me. I just want to sleep tonight and wake up normal. Which, more or less, happened. The next day at work, Chris, back to his male self and visibly relieved, said he'd woken up around 2 a.m. still female, used the bathroom, went back to bed, and then woke up as himself again. Thank God, I said. Yeah, thank God. But now that we know it wears off, we have to try again. You're crazy. No way. We were hiking again, back to that spot. We need to figure out the rules, the limits. This is something truly miraculous. Are you really that eager to have chests again, Chris? I teased. He smirked. Maybe you'll be a woman again soon. I'd taken the day off from the bar just in case. It was spring break at the local college, so most of our usual crowd would be out of town. They didn't really need me. You bring Scrabble again? I asked. No way. So you can win again? Nah, we're trying something different this time. What's in the bag then? His pack looked heavier than last time. Clothes. Someone's going to lose. Someone's definitely going to need new shoes. Walking this trail in socks was gross. We shared a joint, as usual. By the time we reached the testing grounds rock, my head was spinning. We searched the area for any new signs or clues. Nothing. All right, first test. I'm playing chess against the computer on my phone. I'm going to lose. If this changes me, maybe it means only one of us needs to switch back. He lost. Nothing happened. Okay, your turn. What game did you bring? No game. Arm wrestling. Real test of strength. Cards seemed too easy for this. I shrugged. Fine. I thought I had the upper hand. He was skinny, and I worked out more. But Chris somehow had the edge. After counting to 3, I found myself on the verge of losing. I'd fought hard, didn't want to give up, but eventually I just couldn't fight anymore. My hand slammed down on the stone, and that sick, earthquake-like feeling hit me again, stronger than before. I toppled off my rock. Everything felt off. Did it happen? Am I a woman now? I asked in a ridiculously high-pitched voice. I already knew the answer. Chris laughed. Man, it feels great to win. Come on, Sam, get up. Let me help. He grabbed my arm and pulled me up with surprising ease. My head barely reached his chest instead of his nose. I'm short. Here, he said, get dressed. Makes the walk back easier. Fine. He grabbed his backpack. There better not be a skirt in here. Nope. I wasn't sure what size you'd be. That was another question. Would you be the same size as me last week? I don't think so. You're shorter, rounder, and, sorry for looking, but I don't think your chest is as big. I felt myself up. It felt big enough to me. I thought these might work, he said, holding up a pair of denim overall shorts. Roomy, with straps to hold them up if nothing else. Plus that sports bra and a small shirt. I made Chris turn his back, then stripped off my oversized guy clothes except for my boxers. Pulled the bra over my chest, it seemed fine. The black t-shirt was soft and felt new. I climbed into the overalls, buttoned the sides, and fastened the straps. The bib had a big front pocket with a flower stitched on it and smaller flowers near the waist pockets. He had 2 pairs of shoes, simple white canvas, one lady size 6, the other 8. The smaller pair fit me better. All right, let's go, I said. He laughed when he turned around. You look kinda cute, Sam. Asshole. Did I laugh at you last week? No, but now we know it's temporary, so I think we can have some fun. He started snapping pictures. Dude, stop. No pics. Sorry, but I have to get a selfie. Smile. Then I'll stop. He put his arm around my shoulder and took a photo of us together. Done? Almost. He fiddled with his phone. Just uploaded to Facebook. Me and my gal Samantha. Asshole. I swatted at him helplessly. You want people to find out? I don't want anyone seeing me like this. They'll never know it's you, Sam. Probably true. I let it go. We started hiking back down. Listen, I think we should make the most of this, he said halfway down. How? Don't know. Find out how the other half lives. Take measurements, buy clothes, really create second identities. Just for fun. Sounds fun in theory, I said. But speaking as the one with the rack. And a hell of an ass, Chris interrupted. Oh my God. Whatever. Speaking as the current female, it's not exactly fun. True enough. The new sway in my walk and the weird quiver in my backside felt foreign. Maybe it'll grow on you. We'll hit the farmer's market tomorrow. Maybe you can cook me dinner. Or we can hit the beach. You'll get to see what wearing a bikini is like. No. All right. We'll figure it out. A few minutes later, we stopped to rest in a scenic grove where a certain moth species usually gathers this time of year. A couple was there. Chris knew the man. Vicky. It's been ages. What brings you to town? Too long, he said. This is my fiancée, Lana. Lana, meet my old college buddy, Chris. Hi, nice to meet you, she said warmly. Chris introduced me as Samantha. Oh, your girlfriend? Vicky asked. No, you must be thinking of Jessica. We broke up years ago. Samantha and I are just He was about to say co-workers, but I cut him off with, good friends. I see, Vicky said, clearly not convinced. He figured we were on a date. While Vicky and Chris caught up, Lana and I chatted. They were only in town overnight, passing through on their way north to visit his parents. They didn't like me at first since I'm not Indian, Lana explained, but his sister got engaged to an Indian guy, so at least one of their kids is doing it right. Now they're okay with me, or at least they pretend to be. They're not great at hiding it. Lana was cute, wearing tight beige hiking shorts that showed off her tanned, toned legs. So, how long have you and Chris been friends? Really, we're just friends. He's not my type, I said. Why? He doesn't like cute girls? I felt my cheeks heat up. Well, maybe he's not my type. That's more like it. We talked about local restaurants Vicky and Lana could try without reservations. She invited us to join, but I declined flatly. I'm not dressed for it. You could always go home and change. We have time. Chris overheard and jumped in. No, she's right, we do have plans. How about we hang out after you guys get back? That was enough for Lana. Soon after, Chris and I headed back to the car while Vicky and Lana explored the trail further, though the light was fading. See, that's what I want to try, Chris said. Talking to another woman while being a woman. Wasn't it different? Didn't you feel a connection? No, mostly uncomfortable and like a fraud, I admitted. Plus, she's way cute, and I probably look a bit dumpy, like a grade schooler in overalls with flowers. She's cute, but girl you isn't ugly, Sam. Not that it matters. We reached the car. Anyway, I should drive. You don't have ID or a license if you get pulled over. True. I handed him my keys and slid into the passenger seat. The first thing I did back at my place was rush to the bathroom. I hadn't thought about it before, but dealing with unbuckling and gathering straps without dropping them into the toilet was tricky. I almost lost it from taking too long. But my first pee as a woman went fine. After refastening everything and washing my hands, I glanced in the mirror. Chubby cheeks, full lips, narrow eyes, a slightly pug nose, not especially cute, but just normal. I looked like a young woman with a slightly boyish haircut, somewhat like my sister but shorter and a bit plumper. I'd never want my sister to see me like this, she'd laugh so hard if she figured out it was me. I checked the full-length mirror on the door. Chris had been right, I did look kind of cute, like a reluctant tomboy in this outfit. That was the first thing I decided to change. I need better clothes, I declared when I came back into the living room. Definitely, he agreed. We both do. Tomorrow, we're shopping for you and girl me. Bra fittings, maybe a makeover, learning makeup, we have to be convincing if we want to fit in. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. That wasn't exactly what I'd had in mind. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.